Thank you, everyone. My guest today is Gaurav Vaid. He is founder and COO Avatar.me. That's how you pronounce it, Gaurav?
Well, it's Avatar.ai now.
It's Avatar.ai now. So, Gaurav is, I did not believe when he told me that he is in AI startup industry for last 10 years. And he is also an MBA. He's a CA. Now he is driving India's AI story. So, welcome, Gaurav, and thanks for coming.
Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you for having me.
All right. Gaurav, tell me, we all talk about, when we talk about AI, my understanding is ChatGPT, Gemini, and a lot of us here, people here who are in media industry or in probably as a student, universities, AI for us means a ChatGPT or a Gemini. So when we talk to a CEO and a founder, tell me what are you actually building when we talk about AI?
No, that's very true, Himanshu. When most of the people talk about AI, they think GPT first because that's when the inflection of AI happened, right? Like year 2024 was all about prompts. 2025 was all about pilots in the AI domain, and 2026 has been the talk about AI agents delivering ROI. So, from a general user perspective, yes, that's how AI is deemed. But AI is actually way more than that. And AI hasn't been in our life just for last 2 odd years, as most of us feel. AI has been there for decades. And there are a lot of stuff which is happening in the AI domain that can affect and improve our lives on a daily basis. I'll probably take some sectors and examples from
Okay.
that to make it easier. So let's take the example of agriculture, one of the biggest sector in India. 450 million people are involved with agriculture in some way or the other. Now, there are AI models today which can help a farmer to get information about the soil, about the water level in the ground, to understand the pest and disease that's affecting their crop, which could help them on a daily basis.
Okay.
And there are options to extend that with AI agents that once pest is detected in their crop, they can be connected to Pradhan Mantri's crop insurance scheme and even get the credit or the benefit from that. So
Okay.
that's one impact that AI is making in general person's life today. If I were to talk about education, now India is very diverse in terms of the languages that we speak. We have officially recognized 22 languages, 19,600 plus dialects. So at every 50-kilometer distance in India, the dialect changes.
Language
Yeah, so
changes, yeah.
that's how diverse it is. Now, in our education space today, in many remote parts of the country, the teacher to student ratio, I would say, would be very close to 1 is to 50.
Yes.
And that's how the difficult the situation is. So when you think of a personalized AI tutor, just think of the impact. If the tutor can talk in the vernacular language, if we can solve that problem, the impact that it will bring to the students, that's what
Okay.
what AI can do.
So
If
you have actually what Gaurav has touched here is a very important point. Like for a country like United States, where English is a language, a broader 90, probably 98% people talk and speak in English. So even when you train the AI, it's just like you are catering to one audience. Come to India and you have like every 15 kilometer the language changes. So the challenges of AI also is like the challenge that probably you would be dealing if you want to implement something here in India is much more than what anybody else can imagine. Am I right, Gaurav?
That's true, actually. And it's not just about the challenges which are inherent to India, which, as you rightly said, the vernacular challenge being one, but also the infrastructure that we have.
Okay.
Now, just like if I go back a decade when we were starting Avatar, at that point, starting an AI company in India was like trying to hike a mountain with no map, no paved trail, and no supplies, which you would have to figure as you go along. So we had gone through that journey, in terms of how to build a true AI company which can deliver value, deliver impact for the end user. That has been our journey.
So talking about challenges, Gaurav, you have probably like created your own company, which is actually trying to build something that I will ask you later. But tell me something every industry has its own challenges to overcome. So when I talk to a founder of AI startup, I would say he's in 10 years. I kept telling him that I can't believe you are in this industry for 10 years. Okay, but what was the what was the initial challenge that you had to overcome, and have things been different now, or like there are still a lot of roadblocks and things to overcome? So please give us some insight.
Yeah, I'll try to break those challenges down into few buckets. But first of all, to tell you, yes, things are much better now in the entire ecosystem. So I could think of four distinct buckets, Himanshu, in which I'll try to put those challenges. Because I was talking about that trekking a mountain, let me continue with that example. First would be the map challenge. Map in the sense we never had enough data or the right structured form of data to train an AI model, and which is bare essential to build any model out there. Second, I would say, is the oxygen challenge. Now, to build a model, you need compute. You need the right kind of GPUs and now TPUs to train your model, then run the model and the inference part of it to serve the end consumer. That oxygen or that supply was missing.
Okay.
Third came the trust. We all know about the hallucination in the AI space, how difficult it is to trust the fairness and understand the explainability part of an AI model in terms of how it arrived to that answer, which even the developer of that model cannot really tell. So that trust has been the third factor, and eventually because we have been serving enterprises for over a decade now, all Fortune 500 companies, the workflow was the fourth bucket. Workflow in the terms that how the application layer would pan out. Now, when I just now look today at how the ecosystem has evolved, on the data side, we have a lot of structured data come in. AI Kosh today, the platform under India AI Mission, that houses more than 7,000 data sets across different domains. When you look at the oxygen, the compute, which is important, right? Today, again, thanks to our Honorable PM's initiatives, we have 38,000 GPUs and TPUs.
38,000.
38,000
That's a huge number.
GPUs and TPUs allocated under that mission, which is available at a heavily subsidized rate of 65 rupees per hour. That's the last number I remember, which is not available anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So that gives you an inherent advantage to train models in India, to build applications in India. When you look at the trust ecosystem, that's what actually we are working with UAI, a Unified AI Interface, which is very similar to UPI.
I was about UPI for AI.
Yeah, we'll talk about that, but we are trying to build that protocol into the system to bring in trust and safety. And the application is then, I don't think India ever was short on the workflow level. We have very immensely talented
People.
group who can create a lot of solutions using AI. We have been doing that. Now, as the ecosystem is getting geared to support what we need, I think the fourth bucket would get automatically solved. But yeah, things have evolved a lot for the better.
Gaurav, now I'll come to that question about from model to a market thing implementation. Tell us the transition and how soon we can expect these models working in the markets and serving the industry.
Well, idea is that 2026 would be that year that we get all these models at a population scale level. That has been the push and the motivation from our Honorable PM as well to do that. That's the idea behind India AI Mission, practically. The models in the past, they have kind of suffered from different silos. You would have data silos, as I talked about, unstructured data sitting in different, maybe in ministries and departments, not able to connect them. Model silos that you connect different solutions, like one for vernacular language, one for reasoning, how to connect those models, and then trust silos also that we talked about. Under UAI, our focus or our journey is practically from silos to Sangam, if I could call it so.
Okay, from silos to Sangam.
Yes, to bringing all these together. So a common protocol, unified protocol at a nation level, which could connect the data, connect the model, bring the providers closer to the seekers, the providers of these models and data sets to the seekers of AI applications on the other side, and make this population scale growth happen, because it's eventually, Himanshu, at the impact level where you can get the market. You can build the best of the models, but the scale is not achieved with math. It is achieved with marketability at the end of the day.
Yes.
If your application is marketable, you will get the scale. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so now I'm trying to be a bit of a devil's advocate here. So like all of the problem here, we talk about ChatGPT, we talk about Gemini, we talk about the Chinese version of ChatGPT, and lot of other models that we see people across the globe. But when you talk about building something here in India, we don't have that kind of, like, at least just name one particular name or probably a few examples you can say that okay, these are Indian things that we can be proud of. So when do you think we are reaching that stage?
In some aspects, we are already there. So in terms of language, I would say with Bhashini and AI for Bharat, there's no other model globally which can cover all the, I think Bhashini today covers 35 plus languages of India. So there's no other global model which covers with the same depth and breadth. So on certain vernacular aspects, we are there. Over the course of this year, on the reasoning front also, we'll have at least couple of strong large language models which will come up. I mean, it's again part of our India AI mission, which you will see getting released over the course of this year. And then for other nuances as well, in agriculture, in healthcare, in education, even in industries, we are also, at Avatar, we are also building various such use cases which will come over the course of this year. You talked about Chinese models and all. Now, again, with some of these models are definitely the state of the art today. They are the industry benchmark today. But the problem with them is that they don't understand the nuances of India.
Okay.
They don't understand our festivals. They don't understand our culture. They don't understand our faces. So, yes, you can use them, but it won't be the most optimum result that you would want. So just in comparison to that, like Avatar is building a video AI model, and the leading right now competition is with Van from China. So we are building this video AI model which will help the local businesses, the local entrepreneurs to use that and leverage it with better efficiency and better culture nuances of India, but at 1/3 of the cost. So frugal innovation is the game in India. You always have to, because we have a 1.4 billion population, we have to serve them. You have to get it better at a cheaper aspect as well. So our focus has been there, and I think there are other players also which you would see getting coming to the market over the course of this year.
Wonderful. Gaurav Vaid, it was indeed a pleasure talking to you. And imagine when AI built by Indian entrepreneurs, they start helping our farmers, our scientists, our doctors, our engineers, our students, and university campuses. Like, it opens up a whole new game. Gaurav Vaid, thank you. Thanks for such an insightful talk and the knowledge that you have shared. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, Manchu.
Thank you, everyone.